Okay, so we're not actually able to find our next presenter, Mahamed Farhan Hassan. And so he graduated with a doctorate of civil engineering in AIU. And so he has a presentation for the symposium today. So what we're going to do in this presentation is I'm going to put up a slide, and if anybody wants to make comments about anything in the slide, feel free to do that. Raise your hand and you can make comments. Dr. Ophelia, I can't really see who is right now raising their hands. I can kind of see. If you could control that and ask people to activate their microphones.
So you can go ahead and read the slide though.
Sure.
Then people can comment on it.
Yeah, this is slide number 1, or actually slide number 2. The introduction. In nature, the legacy of one person is different from another person, and that depends on the hobby and efforts of the people. However, most researchers believe the good legacy comes after a lot of effort and struggle in certain works. They give a good reputation and knowledge. So in this presentation, I want to present and forward my legacy, the being adapted to promote and develop my life and professional. So what's basically saying is in this presentation, he's going to present his life and his career as promoting and developing his legacy to the next generation. And to all future generations. So here, as you can see, there's different principles that he has listed here. Integrity, being a giver, positive thinking and speaking. So what I want to do is give these ideas to anybody here in the symposium. Talk about integrity. What do you understand by integrity as far as a legacy, or being a giver, or positive thinking and speaking? So we have the slide here. We have the ideas and the principles. Who wants to speak? Who wants, excuse me, who wants to speak? Maureen, I see you have your hand up and your microphone on. Maureen Dillon. Dr. Ophelia, do you see anybody else? Do you see anything in chat?
No, I don't see anything about this. If you want to just keep going, I just see comments about some of the other presentations that people are still commenting on.
On the other, they're commenting on the other presentations?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So integrity. In all I do, I endeavor to act in the best interest of all parties involved and exercise integrity with my personal and business dealings. So this is ethics, integrity, dignity, honesty, transparency, forthrightness, having integrity. And this is part of a legacy to give to future generations. Integrity creates a deeper power to your actions. So if anytime you want to make a comment, just raise your hand and open up your microphone and begin to speak. Number 2, being a giver. I give of myself first and in any relationship and operate under the assumption that the other person is a giver until experience proves otherwise. So I forgive others for their mistakes and try to understand things from their point of view. So this is empathy, compassion, comprehension, understanding. You know, it is said, I think in Buddhism, one of the principles in Buddhism is to love is to understand. So when you understand somebody, you're able to love them. If you really don't understand somebody, it's hard. So that's kind of that principle. So what he's saying is I forgive others and try to understand things from their point of view. So in a way, this is being a giver. This is this is showing love. Anybody want to make comments? I can't really see if anybody is wanting to make comments because I see the presentation. And next, there's positive thinking and speaking. I focus on the positive attributes of others. When I speak to or about another person, I never say something for the sole purpose of hurting them or blemishing their reputation. So this is also part of integrity. Being positive, being respectful, being understanding, working together with other people. So these are parts of the legacy that Mahamed Farhan Hassan is presenting through his presentation. We cannot locate him. If he is here, please show us that you are here. Let's continue. So now we move on to responsibility. Responsibility is another one of the principles of a legacy. I do not blame outside circumstances or others for my mistakes or problems. When something bad happens, I see the role I played and admit my part. I also treat others' possessions and public spaces as if they were my own and exercise the same kind of care. I don't expect others to clean up after me or take care of my needs. This is actually a really important part of legacy, is being responsible, and being responsible to your family, to your work, to your community, to your life. Does anybody want to speak to responsibility? This is actually a really important idea.
Yeah, I think one of our previous presenters or a comment from one of our participants said that we need to be in a great place with ourselves first. So that's the first responsibility, with yourself, with your household, before you can go out and do things in the community, which I think is what we've seen in all of our presenters so far, that first they faced an obstacle and they were able to overcome it, and then they were able to share with other people that knowledge on how to do it. So it is very important to always remember that we are our first responsibility. You know, even when you're in an airplane and they tell you if the airplane is going down, please put on your mask first before helping someone else. Because if you're not in perfect health, if you're not striving, if you don't have a clear vision, there's no way that you're going to be able to help somebody else or promote your legacy, because you're still not complete. So we always, I think, have to remember that. I think that's always the most important in any legacy.
Shall I continue with the next one?
Yes.
Humility. Humility. Everyone has their own brand of intelligence. Everyone fights the battle. Everyone fights a battle. I am not better than others. There is always something to learn from those around me. Sometimes I'm on top. Sometimes I'm at rock bottom. Sometimes I act smart. Sometimes I act like an idiot, just like everyone else does. Humility. Please, anybody want to say anything about humility?
Oh, what I want to say, hello,
Alana?
can I talk?
Alana, please, go ahead.
Okay, what I want to say, I just want to support what Dr. Ophelio just talked about now. What you don't have, you cannot give other people. And like an adage that says charity begins at home. And adage says charity begins at home. If you don't have a resources, there is no way you can share out of the resources to another people. So we have to be responsible on our own. Like if I want to give anybody anything now, if I want to be responsible for anybody, I have to be responsible for myself first. Because if I don't have a thing to give, then I will not be able to take care of people. So being responsible, it has to follow the order of we ourselves first, then our family, friends, neighbor, and the country even at large. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Yes, James Kintu here, Kampala, Uganda. If I am to say something about humility, it is this kind of behavior where you recognize that every human being on planet Earth has value, and therefore they have some contribution to make to society growth. Therefore, it is not only you who knows everything to inform them. It's not you who knows the direction that the world should be taking, but it should be humble and able to listen to everybody and take their contributions, which shape the destiny of planet Earth.
Can I make the contribution on this as well, please?
Dr. Ophelia, can you see who's talking?
Can I add something?
Yes, Michelle,
Yes, Michelle.
go ahead.
Yeah, humility, we need to be careful also. Sometimes in the name of humility, we have good ideas to share with others. Because we want to be humble, we keep those ideas before we keep silent. It is good that if we are convinced that what we have to say to those around us can be beneficial to them, we open up. Humility is not timidity. We should overcome timidity to share the good ideas, the good things, the good knowledge we have with others also. So we should not hide behind humility to keep the good things we have with us, the good knowledge, the good ideas we have with us without sharing it with others. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Michelle.
on humility.
Patricia,
Yes.
go ahead.
Humility is one of the attributes if you want to like live a leadership. Because when you're humble, you'll be able to learn from others and teach others that when you are humble, you'll be able to impact more knowledge to other people and be willing to learn from them as well, contributing to their well-being and contributing to their sense of responsibility and sense of actualization to themselves. Because if you're humble as a leader, you'll be able to teach other people and they want to emulate you. Like you're there to offer services for them, you're there to keep a helping hand. That is what humility is all about. It's like when Obama was the president, sometimes he would just fold his shirt to go to the communities to work with them. That is act of humility, which we can actually pass on to the next generation, the future generation, if we want to help them, because they know that, look, I'm nothing, nobody. Even if you're a multi-billionaire, you should be able to relate with other people. If you go even the Bible concept, the greatest man, warrior that is recorded in the Bible was Naaman. He was a leper. But because he was humble, he listened to his maid. Because he was humble, he listened to his bodyguard. When the prophet said, go and dip yourself 7 times, if he was not a humble leader, he would have missed out on his healing. So humility is actually something we'll carry on board, whether you're younger or you're a very great man. If you're great and you're not humble, you can't get the best from your subordinates in the office. You can't even get the best from your partners. So it's humility that will actually carry you to where you're going to, and you'll be able to teach others. Either you will teach your employees, you will teach your younger ones, you will teach people as a great leader. So they will follow your path to achieve what they desire to. I think is one of the greatest attributes that every human being that wants to leave a legacy should be able to emulate. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia, for that.
Yeah, I want to say something.
Yes, Falana, go ahead, Falana.
Yeah, I want to still talk about the humility we are talking about now. Like the previous person that contributed said something about humility, that humility is not timidity. Yes, we agree. And the last one that spoke also spoke about humility, that is, if you are probably a top official or something, we should be able to come to the level of others that are under us. And now I want to contribute at the same time that, as we know that humility is not timidity, we should be able also not to mix up humility with having a low self-esteem. Are you getting me? You know that it is possible that you are in the midst of the so-called those people in high position, but you feel like, let me be humble. Don't let me say anything in the name of humility. But it is not. It is possible you feel having a low self-esteem. Having a low self-esteem, mixing it up with humility. So I want to encourage my people here on the platform that in the name of humility, we should not mix it up with having a low self-esteem when we find ourselves with people at the top. And I pray that the Lord will help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Falana. That's very insightful. It is true that I think to be humble just means that if you have the knowledge, you're able to share it with people and you don't just keep it to yourself, because then whatever knowledge we have dies with us. And what's important is to society is that we're able to share that. And like you said, speak up, because they say, like closed mouths don't get fed. So you need to speak up whenever you see an injustice or whenever you feel you have an idea, speak up and definitely share it. Thank you for that, Falana.
Yeah.
Anybody else had something to say about this slide?
Yeah, can I come in?
Hello.
Doc?
Hello.
Yes, Given, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, I'm agreeable with the explanations that have been tendered so far by colleagues, including yourself. You have nicely, given a summarized version exactly as to what humility is all about, and also the summary of what the colleagues have just reflected around this particular concept. Mine is to say, I think humility is a very important concept, and it's related to collegiality. And I think what underpins this concept is the acknowledgement of the fact that whatever that you deem correct is probabilistic. That's an element of likelihood. So one other important aspect is that if you move from that premise, then you are likely to harvest from the wisdom and the intellect of others, insofar as to how they view a particular phenomenon, or generally how they view the world. I agree with the former speakers that indeed you stand to learn if you are a humble person, if you exercise humility and collegiality. One other aspect that is linked to this particular concept is so important to me, in that if you are humble, if you exercise humility, you are likely to respect opinions of other people. And over and above that, most importantly to me, you are likely to acknowledge the right to differ, which in some way makes you or render you tolerant for even opinions that happen to differ from yours. And that one is very critical, because if you look at it closer, you'll find out that more often than not, it's the cause of unnecessary disputes, conflicts, and even battles at times, which could have been solved or nipped in the bud if the approach in that particular dialogue over that particular issue has been characterized by humility. So I think humility really encourages, that kind of tolerance, which is so much important, because when people discuss issues, they are likely to emerge from divergent premises and ultimately converge at some point where they will take the most informed and intelligent decision. But there is a tendency when one person happens to have a different view than mine, I then become arrogant. I then become, irritated, such that I am of the view that it's only my opinion that is sacrosanct, So it is very, very, very important to be humble. Just 1 second of your time, Doc. I want just to quickly reflect on other four. Quickly, one second, I promise you. On other four fundamental principles that we have talked about here, man. That namely integrity and giver, as well as positive thinking and responsibility. I understand you are looking here from a legacy, from a point of view of natural persons here, we ourselves as individuals. But when I'm looking closer at these principles, I can see that some of them are very much closer to the principles that actually govern, good governance, that is corporate governance principles, in terms of King's 2 and King's 3 report. So I just want to sensitize us once more that these concepts are not necessarily applicable to us as natural persons, but they are also applicable to persons, that is corporations. As Dr. Lambert has said, that integrity relates to ethics, and even businesses, no need to subscribe to business ethics. The question of giver relates solely to issues of corporate social responsibility, corporate social investment, and so on and so forth. And even responsibility is one of those principles, that actually characterize or should govern and ensure good corporate governance. So I just wanted to raise that point that so that we don't limit these concepts to us as individuals, but also to institutions as well, or corporations. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you, Given, for those comments.
Thank you. Can I just come in?
come
Stephen
in.
here. Stephen here from Botswana. I concur with what the previous speakers have said. Humility is multifaceted, but I want to take it from the context of the author being an engineer. Take it, it's a humbling, being an engineer also, it's a humbling job, because when you do you come up with solutions to people, it's very, very important that you should be able to integrate them and be humble so that you can understand their problems. Like my sister was saying, we should not undermine others or be a show off. We should be humble ourselves, because when you humble yourself, it actually builds in someone's heart, I want to believe, because it brings in the emotions, even in the arena of teaching, when the teacher out there, because especially, teachers, some kids will be timid, but if you bring in a bit of, I'd say, a professional humility, then they can be able to absorb, because then they build trust to see that this man maybe is not just a robot, he's somebody, it's a human being. So they start telling you about their stories. And from that, then you build a very powerful relationship that will add value to them for decades, like my other sister was saying, because we also want to target the young generation so that they can become better people, build on what the parents have built, because at times, the part in Africa, like we've seen some of our brothers, which is not a bad thing, looking for green pasture in the European countries, but at the same time, endangering their life. So it's very, very important that we should bring in the aspect that you should start from where you are to build a legacy. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much. It has been very enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Hello.
Edward, if you want to
Hello.
continue with the next
Hello.
slide.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
This is me, Max. Just wanted to add something. Other colleagues have mentioned and have exhausted issue about humility. According to my personal understanding, humility is the opposite of exaltation. It limits you from learning more, because there are people at the lower level here, they know other things which you don't know. It is better you humble yourself so as you learn new ideas. Yeah, and you continue also giving your own ideas. So with the knowledge that you have, don't create classes between people.